As you see, the grass is starting to turn green. It's been kind of raining off and on all day. It's wetting my hair. My hair. All right, okay, so what's going on in Ukraine in the last past 24 hours? Probably about 100 people dead or so, maybe a little more, a little less. It's hard to verify all the numbers because you have so much going on all over the place. So some people are asking the questions, why hasn't Putin rolled the tanks in yet? Why hasn't he come to the rescue of the people that he said he would come to the rescue of if NATO or Kiev started killing these people? Well, and there's people being executed in the streets. There's all kinds of stuff. There was what happened in Odessa last night, where Molotov cocktails were thrown into the trade union building or whatever it was, and basically people were burnt to death and stuff like that. And about 40 people killed there, 38 or 40. And then there was people beaten up. There's reports, but again, not caught on video, of people coming in, apparently right sector guys coming in with machine guns and shooting at people in the buildings and stuff like that. So whether that's propaganda, whether that's true, at this point, you have to kind of assume that there's no good guys in there, like I've always said. And with that said, this kind of answers the first question I asked, is why hasn't Putin rolled the tanks yet? Well, what he's doing is he's going to let a lot of people die in those regions until they're just screaming to, for Russia to come and save them. The next thing they're going to do is that this is also to polarize. Again, this has nothing to do with the Ukrainian people. They're just the poor buggers that got caught in the crossfire of the international banking community that wants to rape them of all their resources. And of course, you have Russia on the other side that, like I covered in my previous video, everybody benefits but the Ukrainian people. The UN benefits, the United States gets somebody to blame, the financial collapse on. They get to blame it on the Russians. I think it's just out today that China's now dumping the dollar officially. I'll have to double confirm that, but do your own research. Like anything, don't believe anything I tell you. Look into it for yourself. I'm usually rarely wrong, because once you know who the players are, you can pretty much predict that they're not in the favoritism of humanity. They're just NATO and UN has become relevant again over this, so they benefit. Apparently, Mossad is in there training some of these right sector guys. The right sector guys, they're getting thrown under the bus as we speak, because they're doing all the dirty work for it. Like any regime change, you have like the Free Syrian Army, like the Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, Al-Shabaab. All these guys are basically they're proxies, right? So no different than the Afghanistan war with Russia. The CIA, head of the CIA, was already in the Ukraine a couple of weeks ago. So the FBI was in there removing boxes of stuff. The Ukrainian gold has been taken away, so the bankers got that. The austerity is already coming in. $17 billion is coming into the Ukraine, but it's not going to the people, obviously. So they're cutting grandma and grandpa's, retirement in half, and basically starving out the people. The gas has been shut off. The money that was supposed to go to pay Gazprom to pay its bill, nope, it didn't go there. So the EU lied there. Again, the United States, and it's not the people, it's the government, but the people need to stop all this foreign policy, nonsense to begin with, because you're paying for it, so the point is that you've got people that are really suffering there, and Putin, what he's trying to do is say, look, it was a Western-backed regime change, which I agree it was. Putin did hijack it. There's no good guys here. People got to get out of this idea of these guys are the good guys, these guys are the bad guys. No, they're making all the Ukrainian people suffer, period. But not the bankers. They don't suffer. Again, Ukraine has the third largest grain exports, or their wheat exports of the region. Monsanto's going to love that for having all those farms, and they're going to get them for pennies on the dollars. Why? Because the economy's smashed, right? Chevron's already going in there for the gas. It's just an atrocity of what's happening over there. It's really, the problem is that the people there, maybe some of them, it'd be a handful of people that realize that they're being played by both sides. No one's going to listen to them, and then the rest of the people just act like zombies, and they play right into the hand of the useful idiots, and shooting each other, killing each other, and stuff like that in the name of. But you have to, understand that. Okay, well, what is Putin doing? Well, all these anti-terrorism units that are going in, that are shooting these so-called separatists and terrorists, which most of them are just civilians. Yes, there are terrorists in there. There are Russian special forces in there, which are terrorists. There are CIA special forces, or Blackwater guys in there. I forget what they call themselves now, but they're the Blackwater. There's about 1,300 of those guys in there. Yes, these are the guys that are going around causing all the crap. Okay, and yes, they are terrorists. The CIA is a terrorist organization, period. You can't sugarcoat it any other way. If you go around doing regime change, that's terrorism. Again, Yanukovych wasn't a good guy, but all they had to do was wait for an election, and Crimea would still be a part of the Ukraine because okay, well we lost the election, but at least we had a say. Right now, it's everybody, and there's still people in the Maidan Square protesting the Kiev government because they know, but these people will never get in front of the camera because the West doesn't want that. And today I was watching some RT videos, and I couldn't even share them on my Facebook. Certain ones, why? That's all censored now. Like, I mean. Net neutrality, that's why they're getting rid of stuff like that. That's why Obama gave the keys to the United Nations for the internet, is so that the propaganda could be controlled, right? So, but it will fail in the end anyway because, again, like I said, Gaddafi is the future of the elites. People are going to get payback for this. I'm not making any threats, but it's just, Rome fell too, you know what I mean? And it fell for these kind of reasons, tyranny. So anyway, at the end of the day, you've got so many factions in there that are fighting. How bad is it going to get for the people? Who knows? But Putin is basically really, and most people around the world that are following this know how bad the Obama administration is handling this. And basically, they're okaying the orchestrating the violence of these right sector guys, which, again, Ukraine's a complex issue. They have to figure that out for themselves, how they're going to, get along. Because these people don't get along. You have to understand, these people, they're not getting along. But they get along less when you start doing destabilization and arming one side. Again, good Al-Qaeda versus bad Al-Qaeda thing. Well, this is the same play they did in Syria, only this is working a little bit better to plan in some ways. So the way these elite bankers, and a lot of people say, well, you can't track it back to the bankers. What do the bankers have to this? Well, that's where the money's coming from. Again, follow the money. You'll figure out, yes, Rothschilds, George Soros, Rockefellers, they're all in on this. They're the same. There's about 6,000 to 8,000 NGOs and central bankers that run the world. Literally that few people. These people are really problematic. They're very, very problematic because they keep doing this stuff. If there was no central bankers, we probably wouldn't have any war. We probably wouldn't have wars on this magnitude and scale that's coming to us. Okay, so it's hard to say exactly what the next move's going to be. We'll have to wait and see. But, basically the civil war is started. You have your provocateurs driving from town to town. Are these right sector guys? Are these, you got to understand, there's so many factions in here. And it's all about destabilization. So, yes, MI5, MI6, Mossad, they're all in there because they're the guys that train these guys to go around. And then you've got your Blackwater guys. These are the guys that'll be blowing up bridges and doing stuff like that later on. But the Blackwater guys, they're more in there to probably, counter the Russian Special Forces Spetsnaz guys, or GRU or whatever. Yes, there are, again, there's no good guys there. So at the end of the day, everybody caught in the crossfire of these idiots is going to be, killed, you know what I mean? So it's really sad. So I'm hoping that, this, Putin is kind of doing one thing by being kind of passive-aggressive at the same time. Basically, yeah, my troops ain't there, other than the troops that were already stationed in Kamira, but Kamira's lost, so there's nothing they can do about that. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, the people that are coming over for self-defense groups, well, again, you got the Kazakhs coming over because of the deals that they made after the 1940s, after the rise of, after the going through World War II. They said, no, we're never going to let fascism come into our region, and we're coming in to protect our people. So you have these guys, they're not necessarily mercenaries, they're just basically self-defense groups, but they typically are ex-military. So are they mercenaries? Are they not? But they're there. And then, of course, you have all kinds of civilians taking up arms. And, of course, Ukraine has started a draft. So you don't start a draft unless you're going to start a war, right? So this is going to go to a full war. But you got to ask, okay, think about it this way. If they're going to draft Ukrainian people to go fight against the Russians, okay, who is giving that order? This is where you got to track things to, is who gives the orders. Now, what's happened in Odessa, again, it comes down to the same thing. Who gives the orders for the police to stand down and let people get burnt to death because of protesters? You know what I mean? Think about it that way. Somebody, it's not who's doing what, it's who's not doing what they should be doing. So I think with that, we have to look at, there are no good guys here. So as of today, you got a couple hundred, well, probably at least 100 people dead. Skirmishes going on all over the place. It's, you don't have to wait the 6 to 8 months like Syria to confirm it's a civil war starting. It is a civil war period. You got this side shooting down helicopters, that side shooting up the people. It's a civil war, okay? And it's all because of the, bankers. So at the end of it, Again, just look at who all is benefiting. Putin's benefiting in the sense that the ruble gets set free. He's dumping the U.S. dollar. You can do trade in now. Russia can, Mother Russia can grow back into the Soviet Union again, and back to the glory days of the KGB. China gets set free because now they are they get to dump the dollar and side with Russia, and all the, Iran and all that. So they're all, basically the world is getting split in half. So that's the big picture. And then of course you got, all the, the United States. Well, the reason why the economy is basically tanking. Never mind the job numbers that came out, because they don't. Yeah, great job numbers that came out, but they don't tell you about the 800,000 people that lost their jobs the month before. So, yeah, you gained 200,000 jobs, but you lost 800,000, and you got all kinds of stores closing. People just have to look in their wallets to see that yes, there is no recovery. So the bankers don't want to be blamed for this, and like the people in Ukraine, what will probably most likely happen is people will, problem, reaction, solution. They'll beg government to fix the problems. The problem is the government at that point when they're doing stuff like that. They're not serving the people anywhere in the world. And trust me, the Obama administration, and there are people that are out there that are smart enough to know this. Don't fall for any of the propaganda. This is why the mainstream media's they're losing all their ratings, is because people, they're not stupid. They can figure it out. So censor what you want. The word will get out. I mean, they censor the internet. We go back to ham radio. You know what I'm saying? They can only censor so much, and then that. The most dangerous thing any tyrant could do in history is stifle free speech. Once they do that, their downfall is coming. And it's not just Obama, it's the whole system that he's a puppet to, which, again, will all lead back to, like, Rothschild bankers and stuff like that. Because that's where all the money, again, track the money. Who paid for this destabilization, the $5 billion? Now you got $17 billion coming in from the EU. Where's it going? Who's getting paid off? You figure that out, you'll figure out who the NGOs are, you'll figure out who's doing what. Why is MI5, MI6 in there? Why is Mossad in there? Why is the CIA in there? Again, and then what are the results after these people get into it? Why is NATO relative again? Again, people are not stupid. They can put two and two together. They know this is they know what game's being played. But while this game's being played, again, you have all these people in the Ukraine. Yes, they may have their division, divided ideas, but they don't need to be killing each other over it. And the provocateuring, you could clearly see, again, if Kiev is telling them to roll tanks into that, into the other side, no, you use peacekeepers, you say, you de-escalate things, you get dialogue going, you don't do this stuff. So once they roll tanks, well, of course, then it's genocides will happen. So, which apparently, if the reports are correct, people are getting shot in the back of the head while in the middle of the street. We're talking civilians. So who's doing it? They blame the right sector guys, but is it the right sector guys? Is it, maybe it's the Russian guys trying to make the right sector guys look bad? There's a whole bunch of bad guys in there. So you know what's happening. This is why I said right from the get-go that the Ukrainian people need to kick everybody out. Let them solve their problems themselves, yes. I mean, at this point, there's no easy road for them to take anyway. But that's the only thing. Sovereignty is the only thing that will save these people. And if they can happen to unite the entire country, again, over a sovereignty issue, sovereignty from Russia, sovereignty from Europe, sovereignty from everybody, particularly the United States, particularly from the IMF, particularly from these bankers. They need to go to jail. But I think what's going to happen out of this is, again, just watch for more like a rash of elite bankers just dropping dead left, right, and center. Again, I'm not making any threats. It's just, when people know who did what to who, payback's a bitch, right? So I guess I'm babbling now. I'll leave it at that. Now that the sun's out, I'm going to upload my videos and get home before I have to run through the raindrops, around the raindrops. All right, rate, subscribe, share, comment, and like. Okay, hi and welcome. Well, I got just a little bit drenched there. As you see, the grass is starting to turn green. It's been kind of raining off and on all day. It's wetting my hair. All right, so okay, so what's going on in the Ukraine in the past 24 hours? Probably about 100 people dead or so, maybe a little more, a little less. It's hard to verify all the numbers because you have so much going on all over the place. So some people are asking the questions, why hasn't Putin rolled the tanks in yet? Why hasn't he come to the rescue of the people that he said he would come to the rescue of if NATO or Kiev started killing these people? Well, and there's people being executed in the streets. There's all kinds of stuff. There was what happened in Odessa last night, where Molotov cocktails were thrown into the trade union building or whatever it was, and basically people were burnt to death and stuff like that. And about 40 people killed there, 38 or 40. And then there was people beaten up. There's reports, but again, not caught on video, of people coming in, apparently right sector guys coming in with machine guns and shooting at people in the buildings and stuff like that. So whether that's propaganda, whether that's true, at this point you have to kind of assume that there's no good guys in there, like I've always said. And with that said, this kind of answers the first question I asked, is why hasn't Putin rolled the tanks yet? Well, what he's doing is he's going to let a lot of people die in those regions until they're just screaming to, for Russia to come and save them. The next thing they're going to do is that this is also to polarize. Again, this has nothing to do with the Ukrainian people. They're just the poor buggers that got caught in the crossfire of the international banking community that wants to rape them of all their resources. And of course, you have Russia on the other side that, like I covered in my previous video, everybody benefits about the Ukrainian people. The UN benefits, the United States gets somebody to blame, the financial collapse on. They get to blame it on the Russians. I think it's just out today that China's now dumping the dollar officially.